You need to get a CRM that is that gives you the ability to create an ecosystem, right? If you have one or two platforms that are siloed and you're like, all right, I'm not spending more than 5 minutes a day, maybe it's not worth you making a move just yet. But if you have 6 platforms or 5 platforms and you're constantly switching screens, logging in, inputting the same information, going different places to extract different, input about the clients, that's a sign that you need a more sophisticated CRM to pull in all that data to be able to really have that holistic view of a client, because that's obviously siloed.
That might have just been the whole podcast right there.
Welcome to Advisor Talk with Frank LaRosa, brought to you by Elite Consulting Partners. It's the only podcast offering unfiltered guidance and the direct advice for all things concerning financial advisors, RIAs, and the practitioners in the wealth management business. And now, welcome to the show.
Hey everybody, welcome to Advisor Talk with Frank LaRosa. I'm Brian Lutz, Chief Marketing Officer of Elite Consulting Partners, and with me, standing at the desk today, is Chief Information Officer Sue Cheema.
Thank you, Brian.
Sue, I wish I was standing with you.
I know you're too tall.
I love being able to stand. I feel like it would bring a different kind of energy, but we need a different studio for that.
I know. Brian is too tall, so I'm standing, he's sitting.
And if you're watching on YouTube, you should find us because we are almost eye to eye at this point. But listen, we're going to try a new format today.
Yeah.
A new type of recording for the Advisor Talk podcast where we're splitting things into segments. And the first segment that we're going to talk about is news headlines.
I love this.
And I was going through a deep dive over the weekend, and I found a couple that I think that would really interest you, and I'd love to get your feedback on it. So Schwab had their enormous conference Impact not too long ago, and there's been just an enormous amount of information that came out of that conference. For those who aren't aware, Schwab puts on a heck of a show. I was really hoping to go, but unfortunately had a conflict. But coming out of that conference was a headline that said that 2025 was the year of the note taker.
Yep.
But AI's next role is uncertain. You and I recently debated that topic, and so we won't get into too much of that. But 2025, the year of the note taker. Do you agree or disagree?
Totally agree.
Tell me why.
The most blatant example of that I can share is every time anyone is in a meeting, there are like 5 note takers for each participant. You and I have kind of mentioned Jump AI, we have Read AI, Otter AI. There's so many note takers. And to be honest, I think that's the most proficient use case for, at the moment, for artificial intelligence, right? It's just like a transcript, just kind of noting down what someone's saying. I completely agree.
Yeah, no, the managing director of digital advisor solutions at Schwab said the note takers are the number one thing that we're seeing across advisors, and they're using it to augment their client meetings so that they can actually be more present in the meeting and rely on note taking to happen through AI agents, which, to your point, is what you're seeing as well, right?
Yeah.
The summaries, the next news. She says, this is Allison over at Schwab, I actually haven't talked to an advisor in recent weeks that isn't using some sort of capability like this.
Completely agree.
There are advisors that are still not using AI in this capacity?
I think so. Some of the prospecting and clients that we have, they'll come on and they're like, oh yeah, I've heard, I'm evaluating, but haven't implemented it yet. But I would say the ones that haven't executed on the note taker are definitely exploring their options, so they're in the process.
Brian Mora was recently on the podcast with Frank, and Brian Mora is the senior VP of recruitment at Ameriprise,
right?
And was talking about his technology stack, being that Ameriprise has probably one of the better stacks that's out there.
Yeah.
And he was talking specifically about the note taker and how they've invested and encouraged and trained all of their advisors to be utilizing this technology. And one of the things that he mentioned with the note taker solution, specifically the next steps, is that he, embarrassingly enough, and self-admitted that a client had to remind him of an action item that came out of a client meeting. He was completely embarrassed. And with these new solutions, that dictation is being fed back to you and to the client. So not only there's a two-way value proposition there, but Brian's not going to miss another action item ever again.
I think that's the key, right? Like when we're, even in consulting, like when we're supporting our clients and we're kind of noting down their goals, let's even, based on the frequency that anyone's meeting their clients, right? There isn't this effort like, oh my God, let me jot everything down. That pressure that I've felt prior to having a note taker by my side, you're partially present. What you just read, which is augmenting and being fully, it gives you the ability to fully be present and have a conversation with the client instead of being like, wait, can you just let me jot down all the notes? I think that's really powerful. It's so simplistic, yet so powerful and impactful.
Yeah, and it makes the meetings run so much more efficient.
So
you're not
much.
waiting for someone to capture it, right?
Yeah.
The other thing that I highlighted from this article was, I had asked you, do you think that almost all advisors are utilizing this technology? The study earlier this year from Schwab found that 57% of independent RIAs are already using AI at work. And I thought 57% was a low number.
Oh, interesting. I was like, that's a high majority.
Oh, really?
But it's just over 50, right? To the point that, you were saying, like, I think the ones that haven't executed on it are definitely exploring their options because there's so many more coming out and getting popular every month. And you're like, you see Read AI on one and then you're like, no, wait, there's Zox. I've not heard of Zox. So there's almost like FOMO, like I can't commit to one note taker. But the core functionality is similar.
Well, the data, the stat on that I just kind of want to repeat is 51% of independent RIAs, right? You think about Ameriprise, Raymond James,
right.
They've got AI readers, just as one example, included in the technology stack that they provide to all of their advisors. But independent RIAs are basically establishing their own technology stacks.
Exactly.
And the fact that almost half are not adding or investing in some sort of AI solution should be a little scary.
Which is like, what could you be doing? That's an easy gain in efficiency, just by automating your note-taking and your task management.
Couldn't agree with you more. Great article there. And definitely going to be at Schwab's Impact Conference next year. That and Future Proof. I was very jealous that you went to Future Proof this year, and imagine that.
Invite us. Give us some discounts.
Listen, we are a media outlet. All right. Article number 2, billion-dollar RIAs prioritize organic growth as the industry consolidation accelerates. Organic growth meaning growing through organic means, not through acquisition. Right. Exactly right. But here's the takeaway that I want to kind of highlight here. Cerulli Research finds billion-dollar RIAs shifting focus from M&A to organic growth, with referrals and data projects taking center stage.
Data projects. That's what I hear.
Data projects. So the M&A activity recently has just been off of the charts. Joseph Greco, our managing director of our M&A line of business, has been busier than he's ever been before. This headline, I don't think, is any indication that M&A activity is not white hot right now.
Right.
But larger firms are looking to invest internally to increase the referrals that are coming through and making sure their data is better so that they're a more efficient and optimized firm. And I'm wondering, there's probably a better question for Frank, if that investment isn't tied to potentially a PE play.
I was going to say.
Yeah, you think so too?
Well, I think I think maybe there has been so much PE investment in the recent couple of years that maybe it's cooling down. And by the way, Frank is obviously a better source and expertise in that.
Right. The article goes through a number of different stats where 57% of RIAs consider new client acquisition to be a leading challenge. 83% of billion-dollar RIAs cite a lack of advisor time as a key constraint to implementing organic growth. Right. So, if a key constraint is the time of an advisor to initiate organic growth, that's where AI kind of steps in, and I think maybe that's where these RIAs are investing their dollars to help make those advisors more efficient when they do have the time to focus on that organic growth.
Yeah, I mean, when we talk about artificial intelligence, I don't want to keep ringing that bell, but like at the end of the day, what could a firm be doing to grow, scale, be more efficient, and have more time to get their clients closer to their goals that have been communicated.
Right.
And that's where, note taking, as well as, word of mouth. If you're doing your clients a true service, I'm sure they'll be, without ask, recommending you to other people within their network.
Right. Well, and that's the thing. Like, you invest in better technology to provide a better client experience, it is going to generate greater referrals, right?
Yeah. At the end of the day, that's the ultimate goal.
Right. That's what you're looking for.
Yeah.
All right. So that wraps up the headlines. I thought that was a lot of fun.
I love that.
Yeah.
That was really good and insightful.
Right. Timely. We'll put links to the articles in the show notes. So if you're watching on YouTube or if you are listening on any one of the podcast channels, scroll down to the episode show notes. We'll have links to those articles if you want to read the full article there. Topic for today, relevant conversation.
Yes.
Right? Sue and I had a call with an advisor not too long ago, and relatively smaller firm, and was debating whether or not to invest in their CRM solution or stay where they are.
Yeah.
Sue and I, and really Sue, spends the majority of her time talking about really three platforms that make up the majority of the CRM solutions in the wealth advisement space: Redtail, Wealthbox,
Salesforce.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
And so a common question that I know that Sue gets, and I'm really going to kind of pick her brain on this, is if I'm on a solution like Redtail, which is an entry-level product, when is it time for me to start taking a look at another tier, whether it be a Wealthbox or an enterprise solution like Salesforce? What KPIs or milestones should I look for to consider an additional investment in enhancing my CRM solution?
I love that you asked that question because I've been thinking a lot about it since our conversation with this prospect. And here's what I came down to. I think a sign of maturity within a firm is increased tech stack. So when you start to see more platforms because you're trying to gain efficiency by automating your processes, as you start to grow within your tech stack, you need to grow within. You need to create a system. You need to get a CRM that is that gives you the ability to create an ecosystem, right? If you have one or two platforms that are siloed and you're like, all right, I'm not spending more than 5 minutes a day, maybe it's not worth you making a move just yet. But if you have 6 platforms or 5 platforms and you're constantly switching screens, logging in, inputting the same information, going different places to extract different, input about the clients, that's a sign that you need a more sophisticated CRM to pull in all that data to be able to really have that holistic view of a client, because that's obviously siloed.
That might have just been the whole podcast right there. I think it's very well said, right? And you have advisors that are out there that are thinking to themselves, well, is it worth the expense of upgrading, right?
Right.
And I've heard you say on countless times, too, that what's your time worth?
What's your time worth?
If you can get that time back from inefficient manual processes, like the example that you just gave. If you're moving data from one screen to another, one platform to another, how many times are you copying and pasting in a day?
Yeah.
What's that time worth back to you?
I find that to be so it's so blatant, actually, right? The fact that if Brian, let's say you're doing let's reduce that to 2 hours of manual task a day, and you're a CMO, and if your salary for 2 hours a day times a week times a month, you could definitely invest in a platform that could do so much more than that one manual task that Brian is doing.
Right.
And to me, that's like simple math.
Well, and so that's exactly what we did, is that we put that visualization down, and we used a support staff within the example that we created, where you've got a support team member on your team. Let's call their hourly salary or their hourly payout $100 an hour, just for easy math.
Yep.
And if you're saving that employee 2 hours a day, 5 days a week, that's some real time there. So that's 200 times 5. That's $1,000 that you can reinvest somewhere else, because that employee is now doing more work because they're spending less time doing those manual processes.
And you're not saving one employee's time. Majority of the time, if you do systemize a process or get a platform connected, you're saving everyone that time. So then it multiplies.
Right.
And then that multiplication gives you that ability to scale. Mm-hmm. And that's the power of systems and processes.
Right. So what are those? So that's the cost savings, right? Then we start about revenue generation, right? An enhanced CRM also adds to your bottom line, where you start thinking about like better conversion rates because you're bringing in greater automations, integrations. If you start thinking about automating drip campaigns and email follow-ups, you start adding to the bottom line through retention, right?
Word of mouth, right? Like if you think about if a client is having a great experience with an advisor through their, like if I'm on my mobile device, which most, let's say Gen X's and millennials are, right? And if there is this transition of wealth happening, and they're used to like just texting an advisor, be like, hey, what's my performance look like? Or logging into a platform, that client experience through systems and processes is like, oh my God, I'm working with this advisor. He's giving me 15-20% exaggerated numbers, right, of return. His easy to maneuver. I am constantly in touch. Do you want his number? Right? That's a selling point in itself.
Right. So one of the things that we have put together in this document that we're kind of talking about, and this was all derived from a conversation that we had with a prospective client, is how to evaluate the ROI on an investment within your CRM solution. And so getting into the 3 different platforms, we talk about Redtail, Wealthbox, and Salesforce. Give us sort of like a broad view of what makes Redtail an ideal platform for an advisor. When should someone, at what size should an advisement group be on something like a Wealthbox? And then when does a firm, really want to maximize, or when do they really need to make the move towards an enterprise level tool like Salesforce?
So there are some integrations that Wealthbox has natively whereby they're pulling in account balances from some of the custodians that are well integrated. If your tech stack is small, meaning you have 1 or 2 applications, and you are just looking to have a centralized way to keep track of some KYC information, if your client count is not extensive, then Wealthbox may align with, giving that ROI that's reasonable for your firm, and you're not looking to scale, right? It's just like, okay, passive income coming in, catering to 100 clients that I have just enough information, just enough paperwork to cover all my bases. That's a great place to be. Wealthbox is a little bit more sophisticated, where if you're looking to grow, right, if you want to go beyond that, 100, 200, 300, 400, 500 clients, you're looking to do some basic analytics, you're looking to integrate with some basic platforms. If you have between, let's say, 4 to 8 applications that you have within your firm that are like core critical, and you constantly find yourself navigating from one to the other, you're looking for task management, some automation and efficiency gains, I would say Wealthbox is the place to be. And what I like about Wealthbox is they do have a mobile app, and they are constantly investing in getting more integration set up with their platform. So I think that's a great place to be. I think Salesforce is one of the most, and by the way, we don't get paid anything from any of these platforms, I know. So Salesforce is a really cost-effective warehouse, I consider it, right? Like, you could pull in a lot of information, you could do a ton of integration, you could do a ton of analytics, you could, do a ton of automation. They're investing heavily in artificial intelligence. At some point soon, you do now, but even more sophisticated agents that could do some basic tasks, just achieve goals as you're getting more clients and so on and so forth. So I think the trajectory of scalability, or if you are a forward-looking advisor and are not afraid to be cutting edge because you know the worth and where you're going to land, go right to Salesforce. Go right to Salesforce.
Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. Straight to Salesforce.
Go straight to Salesforce.
I love it. So I think you had mentioned the first platform, that entry-level platform. I think you had mentioned Wealthbox, but you meant Redtail.
The entry level, yes, it's a Redtail. Sorry, did
Okay.
I say Wealthbox?
You started with Wealthbox because I thought you were going to make a comparison of like starting in the middle if you were an advisor, but I think we understood where you were going.
Yes, so the first one is Redtail.
Right.
The second one is Wealthbox, and the third one would be
Redtail was the one where you were talking about if you only have 2 or 3 different technology plays.
Right,
Yeah.
and then over about 100 clients or
Yep.
so, and you're not really looking, you don't have a lot of, you're not looking to scale. You're kind of, in that passive income phase. That's awesome.
Do you find that most firms will move from a Redtail to a Wealthbox to a Salesforce, or, we just made the joke, straight to Salesforce?
Right.
Are there advisors or are there groups that will go straight to Salesforce?
Brian, I have worked with advisors, and there's a certain, I don't want to, they tend to be, in that growth stage. They tend to be in their, late 40s to early 50s advisors that, are like, I want to grow my firm and tell me what I need to grow my firm. And they're eager to get technology because they have grown up with it. And they know the value prop. It doesn't need to be constantly translated. They're like, all right, let's go right to the Holy Grail. Let's execute it well, and let's grow my business. And they just know the value of technology, and yeah, they just know it'll make their processes better.
Is there something to be said about moving straight to Salesforce so not as to lose time with 2 migrations, moving from a platform to Wealthbox to Salesforce, versus going straight to Salesforce, even though that might not be the ideal solution today?
I do think that if you have no expectation or desire to grow, maybe Salesforce is not something you should invest in. But if you have some desire of growth within your firm and you know that scalability is coming, then Salesforce is the platform for you.
Why then, when we talk about data being the most important thing,
It's a foundation.
data, right? It's the foundation.
Yeah.
How much data, or does data play a role in a decision of which CRM should we be choosing?
As in, does one help integrity better than the other?
Well, my question is more along the lines of you can never have too much data, right? The data that you have access today is great because it's been informing your practice up until this point.
Right.
But as you enhance your CRM and bring on additional platforms, you're bringing on more data. Mm-hmm. Is there ever going to be a point where it's, I've got too much, or this is going to be overwhelming?
I've heard Frank say that there is no such thing as too much data, so I'm going to...
Listen, I've heard the same thing that you have, but I want to play the role of the advisor here for a minute, maybe in the listening audience that says, what I'm doing right now is working. Why do I need more? Right?
I have as well.
Analysis by paralysis is also something that we hear too frequently. What do you say to that?
I think when I hear advisors say, oh, this is working, why change it? I would say staying in comfort zone is not usually the best, doesn't really deliver the best outcome, right? In life and in platform, right? Like if you are in your comfort zone and don't want to take any risks, especially, I mean, if you're a financial advisor, you're probably telling your clients to take some risk. Unless they're in their, late ages. Yeah, so, I mean, I would say do the same for your own firm. Take a risk with a platform that can help you grow and scale. And you'll see the value. You'll see the return on that investment, just as you see.
So one of the things, I'm going to switch gears on you here, because I heard you say this in a client meeting once.
Oh, no.
Where Jedi helps advisors build a CRM first, not a CRM only, where the value that you provide goes beyond just implementing a CRM solution. It helps them kind of optimize their entire practice. Can you expand on that too? Because when you mentioned that in that client call, I was kind of like, yes, that's it.
We did a podcast a couple of months ago. I think it was in the summer where Barron's had written out an article. And I was like, Brian, I love this article. Let's really emphasize on it. And it highlighted the importance of integrated platforms, not only now, but going forward. And I think when advisors limit their mindset to say it's a CRM, that's all it does, it stores client information, you're limiting your potential of growth with your data. And data is your book of business. And so what I would say to that is when you have integrated platforms, you're not only getting, their birthdays and their favorite teams, but you can really see the trajectory of their investment and the growth opportunity that comes from having, not like a tunnel vision, but having the surrounding be visible, right? Like, I mean, just as humans, right? Like if we were like this instead of having this,
peripheral.
Yeah, we wouldn't be able to navigate through life. And I think such as that's the analogy I would say is a good parallel, which is like integrated platform give you that, almost that vision.
Well, yeah. So putting that in a different way, and for the audience that's not watching on YouTube, the hand motions that Sue was doing was you don't want to have such a narrow focus where you're solely focused on the CRM and your client. You want to be able to extend to your peripheral to where you can see everything else that's happening within your practice as well.
And with your client.
Right? Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yes.
Don't look solely at the client. Actually, look at your practice as well. And one of the things that I really loved about the statement that you made in that client call was that your CRM solution highlights actionable insights that you can take with your clients, but your CRM solution also dictates actionable insights that you, as your managing partner, right, as the owner of this practice, can help to optimize the practice as well.
Yeah.
KPIs around prospecting, KPIs around the speed it takes to fund accounts, client retention. Who are your best clients?
I don't think a lot of advisors know the cost of acquisition, right, for their clients, right? What does that look like? What is their margin for each client? How many...
Say that again? You don't think that most advisors know the answers to those questions?
I don't think most advisors know the answers to those questions. No, like the cost of client acquisition, not even what is the cost of converting a client, what is the cost of losing a client. I mean, that's probably most blatant in a tangible way, right? But...
these are the things that I think that exist in the peripheral, to your point.
Exactly.
People get so focused on client engagement and client acquisition that they lose focus on those KPIs.
Like, how long is your prospecting phase on average? What is the average net worth of your client?
What source generates the best referrals? Do those referrals convert faster than others?
And how do we get these insights? It's essentially just aggregating your book of business.
Right.
And how do we aggregate your book of business? It's through a connected platform. And how do we connect your platforms? Having a technology stack that is connectable.
So bringing that back to the three types of platforms, and there are many platforms that are available out there.
Yes.
And we're just talking about 3 of them,
Yep.
right? But we did put together sort of, I'm not going to call it a white paper, but it's more of like a CRM insights document, if you will.
Yeah.
It's in its final stages of preparedness now, but by the time this podcast hits the interwebs, there will be a link to it, because I've seen a lot of this information, but I've never seen it all in one place. And I think the listening audience will really appreciate the thought process of how to evaluate these CRM solutions from a cost perspective, from a value perspective, from a cost savings perspective, and then finally how to calculate an ROI on this investment. It's really a great document that Sue put together, and I'm happy to be a part of polishing it and putting it on the web for you.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's valuable because where I really want to provide value is help advisors really get that bottom line elevated, whether it's through revenue, whether it's through cutting cost, or whether it's just being able to, when that time comes, having 10x valuation for their book of business. Ultimately, it comes down to numbers.
Right. Well, so we don't have a title for this yet, but right now I'm calling it a CRM comparison guide.
Love it.
Find it in the show notes below. Find it online. You'll also be able to find it on our website, JediSolutions.com.
Yes, please.
You can also email Sue. She'll be happy to give it to you. If they wanted to do that, how should they find you on the email?
Sue Cheema at EliteConsultingPartners.com.
It's that easy, friends.
It's that easy.
So, guys, thanks for listening. This was a lot of fun. If you enjoyed this format, please let us know. Otherwise, we will catch you on the next episode. Thanks so much for listening.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to Advisor Talk with Frank LaRosa. If you're looking for more advice or solutions on any topics relating to the financial services industry, or just want to subscribe to our podcast, head on over to EliteConsultingPartners.com/podcast.